Alright, taking a look at Metropolis Street Racer for the Dreamcast. As you may know, this is actually the PAL version of the game. As we can see, it has the European style packaging. Now, of course, I'm running a North American NTSC Dreamcast system, so we need to use the Utopia boot CD. You put that in the Dreamcast, turn on the Dreamcast, and wait until you see a screen that looks like this. When you see this screen here, you can then actually open up the Dreamcast and put in the game, and this will let you play the import games. So keep that in mind. The Utopia boot CD is of course free to download, and you can just burn it onto a CD, and it comes in handy if you want to play imports like this. Interestingly enough, the game asks us the refresh rate of our television. I'm not sure if that's standard for the games over there. This game was published by Sega and developed by Bizarre Creations. It was released in Europe first, March 2000. Came out over here in January of 2001. So this is a game that was actually made over there and came out over there first. A little bit opposite of what usually happens, but as we go here, get into the single campaign, we'll actually start a new game. It asks for your first name, a nickname, and a last name. Rather time-consuming process. We'll skip through that and continue here. So starting off, you're going to go into your garage because you have absolutely no cars. You need at least one car to start off with. The game has all real cars. As you can see, Fiat, Mazda, MX-5. Now you can change it here because there's the MX-5, there's the Miata, and there's the Roadster. I'm not sure if that's just the different names for different countries or if it actually makes any difference to the car's appearance. And we have an MG in here. Now when you pick a car for the first time, you can pick its color and some other options. But you can also pick if it's an automatic or a manual. Now this is not the setting for the game, this is this car. Once you pick this car, if you pick it as an automatic or a manual, that car will be an automatic or a manual for the rest of the game. So you may have some cars that are automatic, you may have some cars that are manual, but you can't switch, unfortunately, once you've picked the car. So keep that in mind when you pick the car for the first time. Now in this game you have tracks from around the world, and you can race on the tracks at different times, day and night. Now starting off, we're in the Mazda Miata that we're trying to get. You do not buy cars in this game, okay? You unlock cars. Once the cars are available, you simply pick the car, and then they give you a challenge. It may be, in this case, get around the track in a set time, and when you get around the track in that set time, the car's yours. So back to the garage, we can see now I have 3 cars. Like I said, cars do not cost any money, so keep that in mind. Now that we have a car, we're going to get into the main game. Once again, different tracks from around the world that could be raced at different times. Thankfully, this one's being raced in the daytime. Some of the tracks I do not like racing at night because it's harder to see. And here we go. You can see the game starts off with an external view, and you can see the car. Looks really nice, but unfortunately, I like playing the games usually in this sort of bumper cam view. I've always found racing games easier to play in this kind of a view here. So as you can see, this is basically just a challenge. We have an average lap time. We need to get basically around this track 3 laps, and our average lap time needs to be within a certain time limit to pass the level. That's how this game works. Basically, there's a lot of challenges and there's a lot of races, and a lot of them are basically just tests, get around the lap in a certain set time. But this game also rates you on what they call Kudos. Now, Kudos is a combination of how well you did on the track, but also your style. So basically every time you do a power slide like this, that power slide just got me a lot of Kudo points. So you have to find a balance between style and your actual performance. I find that when I start doing those power slides, it really slows me down. So I don't want to do too many of them. Maybe there's a few corners that you learn on the track that you can pull off a good power slide on, but you certainly don't want to be pulling the power slides on every corner. It slows me down too much, and then I don't make the set time, and you end up failing the level anyways. But yeah, it's all about the Kudo points. You need to get as many points on these tracks to unlock the next level. One thing I have to say right now is the music in this game is awesome. Some of it's funny, as we just heard there. Some of it's a little bit more like rock music or dance music. You have different, basically, radio stations. It's really cool because it is like you're tuning through the different local radio stations for the city that you're in. So in the different cities, you're going to hear different radio stations and you're going to hear different music. It's very similar to Grand Theft Auto. Now, as you get further in the game, as you'll see here, you start getting into races with other cars. It's not just challenges of lap times and stuff like that. So here we're in an actual race in London with 3 other cars on the track. One thing I found about this game is that it doesn't necessarily scale itself to the car you're in. So if you're not in a fast enough car for this race, you have to change cars. Once again, like I said, cars don't cost money, so don't be afraid to get as many cars as you can for the cars that you can get at the time. You will not be able to unlock certain cars until you get past certain levels. But out of the cars that you can get at one time, you should try them all. Some of them handle better, some of them power slide better, like the rear-wheel drive Miata I found I can hold in a power slide. This front-wheel drive MG thing, I cannot hold in a power slide. It just oversteers and you spin out. So they got the handling down. They got the controls pretty good too. I mean, you steer with the analog stick, and the steering controls are very precise. You gas and brake with the LNR triggers, which of course on the Dreamcast are analog triggers, so that works really good. The only thing that takes some getting used to is shifting. If you're in manual mode, it's actually the X and the B button that up and down shift, so that takes some getting used to. The graphics in this game are top-notch. This is one of the better-looking racing games that I remember on the Dreamcast. It looks really good for its time. This game came out in March 2000, like I said, in Europe. It was actually planned to be a launch title on the Dreamcast. It just, it was delayed so many times that it wasn't a launch title by the time it came out. But this game might look familiar to some of you who have played Project Gotham Racing on the Xbox. I actually played Project Gotham Racing on the Xbox before I ever played this, and as soon as I started playing this, I realized that it's the same game. Well, yeah, this is basically the prequel to Project Gotham Racing on the Xbox, as it was made by the same guys, and it's a very similar game with the Kudos system, going through the levels, needing enough points to get through. So this is an awesome game, but this is an awesome game if you're looking for a challenging racing game. This game is extremely difficult. It's very, very long. There are a lot of levels in this game. It's very frustrating. A lot of the average lap time stuff. If you're on your 3rd lap and you nailed the first 2 laps, it only takes one spin out and you hit the wall. And these cars, they take a long time to put into reverse. You have to completely stop, and then you have to shift down in through to reverse, and then use the throttle to reverse. It's very frustrating when you make a mistake. This game made me very mad at a few times. This is not a pick-up-and-play kind of arcade game. This is something, if you're seriously looking for a challenge and you want a racing game that you can spend a lot of time with, this is definitely a game for you. Great graphics on the Dreamcast, the controls are great. I love the music, I love the way they did the radio stations. And overall, this is a great game. If you're into this kind of game, definitely pick this up on the Dreamcast.